China to impose additional tariffs on all U.S. imports. U.S. stocks plunge following aggressive tariff policies. Salam Malaysia Madani, this is World Today and my name is Daryl Baptist. China will impose additional 34% tariffs on all products imported from the United States starting from the 10th of April. The Custom Tariff Commission of the State Council announced on Friday. The announcement follows the U.S. decision to impose reciprocal tariffs on Chinese exports to the U.S., a move that the Commission said does not conform to international trade rules, seriously undermines China's legitimate rights and interests, and represents a typical act of unilateral bullying. The U.S. move not only harms the interests of the U.S. itself, but also jeopardizes global economic development and the stability of industrial and supply chains, according to the Commission in a released statement. It added that China urged the U.S. to immediately lift its unilateral tariff measures and resolve trade disputes through consultations on the basis of equality, respect and mutual benefits. The Commission noted that the existing bonded policies, as well as tax reduction and exemption policies, will remain unchanged, while the new additional tariffs to be imposed will not be reduced or exempted. Additionally, Beijing also announced controls on exports of medium and heavy rare earths to the United States, effective 4th of April. The Chinese Commerce Ministry also added 11 U.S. firms to the unreliable entity list, which allows Beijing to take punitive action against foreign entities. Wall Street stocks suffered another bruising sell-off Friday as major indices slumped more than 5% following President Donald Trump's aggressive tariff policies. U.S. equities spent the entire session in red, shrugging off solid employment figures and fixating on China's quick retaliation against the U.S. levies. The S&P 500 led the major indices lower, ending at 5,074.08 points, down 6% for the day and more than 9% for the week. The tech-rich Nasdaq Composite Index slumped 5.8% to 15,587.79 points, placing it in a bear market, defined as a 20% fall from a recent high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled 5.5% to 38,314.86 points. The losses increased following remarks from the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, who warned of the risks of higher unemployment and higher inflation due to tariff increases he characterized as significantly larger than expected. Earlier, government data showed the U.S. economy added 228,000 jobs last month, much more than analysts anticipated. But markets focused on China's announcement that it was imposing 34% tariffs on U.S. imports while also enacting export controls on 7 rare earth elements. More news on tariffs, this time a reaction from a Latin American nation. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro said during an event in Caracas on Friday that his government is prepared to tackle the tariffs imposed by the United States. U.S. President Donald Trump on Wednesday unveiled global reciprocal tariffs during an event at the White House and determined that Venezuela will be subject to 15% tariffs, 5 percentage points more than the rest of Latin American countries.
Y hoy estamos en las mejores condiciones del plan de la patria. Para nosotros, continuar el proceso de recuperación económica, construcción de nuestro propio modelo económico y superar cualquier perturbación que surja de la guerra comercial arancelaria mundial que ha declarado el presidente de Estados Unidos contra el mundo y contra Venezuela. estamos preparados y vamos a salir bien librados. Vamos a salir adelante con unión popular, con unión nacional.
In addition, President Trump is seeking to strangle Venezuela economically in order to cripple Maduro and announced a week ago 25% tariffs on imports from countries buying Venezuelan oil and gas. Increased global trade tariffs will hurt the most vulnerable and poor people, the UN's Trade and Development Agency said on Friday after US President Donald Trump's measures sparked global alarm. The ensuing trade turbulence hurts the vulnerable and the poor, according to Secretary General Rebecca Greenspan in a statement. She stressed that trade must not become another source of instability, and it should serve development and global growth. Global trade rules must evolve to reflect today's challenges, but they must do so with predictability and development at their core. Protecting the most vulnerable. She calls for greater cooperation as to not escalate the tension further. Trump unveiled a barrage of import duties against dozens of countries on Wednesday. This has prompted China to retaliate in kind and raising the risk that other countries will follow, hurting the world economy. Britain's construction firms cut jobs at the fastest rate in 4 years last month as the sector's downturn in activity continued. It came as the commercial construction sector declined at its sharpest rate since the start of 2021, amid concerns over the United Kingdom's economy and global uncertainty. The latest S&P Global Construction Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, showed a reading of 46.4 in March, improving from the 57-month low of 44.6 it posted in February. It was marginally below the 46.6 reading predicted by economists. Any reading above the 50 threshold indicates that activity in the industry is increasing, while anything below means it is shrinking. Lower business activity was linked to lackluster UK economic prospects and the impact of rising geopolitical uncertainty on clients' investment spending. Construction order books reduced again on the back of sluggish demand across the market. Staffing numbers also reduced for a third consecutive month as the rate of job shedding accelerated to its fastest since October 2020. Coming up next, US ups Myanmar quake aid, says others should bear burden. But before that story, Malaysia's Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Mohamad Hassan today begins a one-day visit to Myanmar as part of a humanitarian mission following the devastating earthquake that struck the country on the 28th of March. The aircraft carrying him and his delegation departed from the Royal Malaysian Air Force, or RMAF, airbase in Subang at around 8 a.m. The delegation arrived at Nay Pyi Taw International Airport, Myanmar at around 9:30 a.m. The humanitarian mission is jointly led by Thai Foreign Minister Maris Siangampongsa. Malaysia, as the ASEAN chair, and Thailand are spearheading this initiative as agreed upon during the ASEAN Foreign Ministers' special emergency meeting. Coinciding with the visit, Malaysia's second batch of humanitarian aid weighing 15 tons will arrive at Nay Pyi Taw. The aid, coordinated through the ASEAN Coordinating Centre for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management, or AHA Centre, will be delivered using a Royal Malaysian Air Force, or RMAF, A400M aircraft as part of ASEAN's collective relief efforts. The United States said it was raising its assistance to earthquake-hit Myanmar, but added it was unfair to expect the nation to keep leading humanitarian relief around the world. The State Department said it was adding $7 million on top of an earlier $2 million channeled through groups already on the ground. The assistance will help provide emergency shelter, food, medical care and water. State Department spokeswoman Tammy Bruce wrote on X. The US has traditionally been at the forefront of disaster relief, but President Donald Trump has dismantled the U.S. Humanitarian Aid Agency, with workers receiving dismal notices just as the 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck last week. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the humanitarian aid needs to be properly balanced against other priorities for the United States. He said it is unfair to assume the U.S. needs to continue to share the burden of humanitarian aid around the world. China, which has jostled the United States for influence in Asia, as well as Russia and neighboring India, promptly sent rescue teams to Myanmar before the US even announced its support. Saudi Arabia has condemned an Israeli airstrike on a facility linked to the kingdom in Rafah, southern Gaza, and criticized Israel's ongoing military escalation in the occupied Palestinian territories. The Saudi Foreign Ministry said Israeli occupational forces targeted and destroyed a warehouse belonging to the Saudi Center for Culture and Heritage in the Morag area of Rafah, which contained medical supplies intended for the treatment of patients and the wounded in Gaza. The ministry also denounced Israel's broader escalation, including the continued targeting of civilians and shelters and the killing of dozens in areas such as the Dar al-Akram school in northeastern Gaza, which had been sheltering displaced people. Riyadh criticized the international community's failure to deter Israeli violence and destruction, adding that the absence of robust accountability mechanisms has emboldened Israeli forces to continue violating international and humanitarian law. Israeli forces have launched a ground offensive in Gaza City, expanding their operations as rescuers reported at least 30 killed across the Palestinian territory since dawn. Since renewed military operations last month ended a short-lived truce in its war with Hamas, Israel has pushed to seize territory in the Gaza Strip in what is said was a strategy to force fighters to free hostages still in captivity. Israel has also escalated attacks on Lebanon, where a U.S. envoy was visiting on Friday, hours after a pre-dawn strike at the port city of Sidon killed a Hamas commander. The Civil Defense Agency said Israeli military operations across Gaza killed at least 30 people on Friday. A single strike on Khan Yunis killed at least 25 people, according to a medical source at the southern cities. Nasser Hospital and Gaza Health Authority said 1,249 people have been killed since Israel resumed intense bombing last month, bringing the overall death toll since the war began to 50,609. A Russian ballistic missile strike on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's home city of Kryvyi Rih killed 16 people on Friday, 6 of them children. The missile struck a residential area near a children's playground and wounded more than 24 others. Unverified videos on social media appeared to show bodies lying on a street, while another showed a plume of smoke rising into the evening sky. Zelensky said the attack showed Russia had no interest in stopping its invasion. US President Donald Trump has been pushing for a speedy end to the more than 3-year war since taking office, but his administration has failed to broker a ceasefire despite talks with both sides. Russian President Vladimir Putin rejected a joint US-Ukrainian proposal for an unconditional and full ceasefire in March, while the Kremlin has made a US proposed truce in the Black Sea dependent on the West lifting certain sanctions. Tunisia on Friday dismantled camps housing thousands of undocumented migrants from sub-Saharan Africa, following a campaign against them on social media. Around 20,000 migrants had set up tents in fields in the eastern regions of El Amra and Jabaninaina. National Guard spokesman Hucham Adine Jababli said around 4,000 people of various nationalities had left one of the camps cleared by authorities, and operations would continue over the coming days. Some of the migrants had dispersed into the countryside, with pregnant women and the infirm taken care of by the health authorities. The camps had prompted anger from residents in nearby villages, raising pressure on the authorities. Jababli said locals had taken legal action over the occupation of their olive groves by the migrants. Tunisian President Kais Saied on the 25th of March called on the International Organization for Migration to accelerate voluntary returns for irregular migrants to their home countries. Tunisia has in recent years become a key departure point in North Africa for migrants making the perilous Mediterranean Sea crossings in hopes of reaching Europe. Coming up in sports, Kevin De Bruyne to leave Manchester City at the end of season. Stay with us. Manchester City midfielder Kevin De Bruyne will leave the Premier League club at the end of the season, the 33-year-old Belgian announced on Friday. De Bruyne has lifted 16 trophies since joining City from German side VfL Wolfsburg in 2015, a haul that includes 6 Premier League titles and the Champions League in 2023. He has also been named the Premier League Player of the Season twice. In a social media post, De Bruyne said that every story comes to an end, but this has definitely been his best chapter. There has been speculation about De Bruyne's future at the club for months, as his contract is due to expire at the end of the season. Regarded as one of the greatest midfielders in Premier League history, De Bruyne has been central to City's success, but has struggled with injuries in recent seasons. City, meanwhile, in a statement said the club will bid an emotional farewell to Kevin De Bruyne this summer, when his contract expires, bringing an end to a glittering 10-year period. De Bruyne has featured in 20 league matches this campaign, having been sidelined by a setback in September and difficulties in regaining full fitness. Despite a disappointing season, De Bruyne still has the chance to add another trophy to his collection, with an FA Cup semi-final against Nottingham Forest scheduled for the 26th of April. Commenting on De Bruyne's departure, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola hailed the Belgian as one of the Premier League's greatest midfielders after completing a decade at the club. The Spaniard added that he had known about De Bruyne's departure a few days before it was announced, though Friday's news still carried a bittersweet feeling.
Yeah, it's a sad day. But still we have 10 games and hopefully 11 and 6 games at home that we can enjoy with our fans, and he will get, I'm pretty sure, the love and the recognition that all of us, fans of course, that he deserves.
De Bruyne has played 413 games for City, scoring 106 goals and providing 174 assists, including 118 in the Premier League, the second most behind Ryan Giggs with 162. City would be defending their title at the 32-team Club World Cup in the United States, which runs from the 14th of June to the 13th of July. Premier League clubs have agreed to open the transfer window early for a 10-day period in June ahead of the tournament. Cristiano Ronaldo scored twice in the second half, including a penalty, to guide Al Nassr to a 3-1 win over Al Hilal in the race for the Saudi Pro League title on Friday. Al Nassr remain in third place with 54 points, but they are now 3 points behind second place Al Hilal and 7 off leaders Al Ittihad, who visit Al Ahly today. Al Nassr opened the scoring before the interval when Ali Al Hassan curled a shot past goalkeeper Yassin Bono. Ronaldo made it 2-0 2 minutes after the break with a precise shot after a pass from Sadio Mane. Reigning champions Al Hilal tried to fight back, playing on the counter-attack and reduced the deficit in the 62nd minute through Ali Al Bulahi's close-range header after a corner. However, Ronaldo wrapped up the points for Al Nassr with a penalty in the 88th minute, awarded for a handball by substitute Mutab Al-Habi following a VAR review. Ronaldo, in a post-match interview, said the team effort was crucial to the win, with him scoring being important, but it's more important to win. He stressed that he works hard to help the team in the SPL and Champions League and doesn't concentrate on individual records. Over in the world of tennis, top seed Jessica Pegula booked her spot in the WTA 500 Charleston Open semi-finals following a hard-fought win over fellow American Danielle Collins on Friday. The world number 4 had to fight from a set down to oust the defending champion and tournament 7th seed, 1-6, 6-3, 6-love, and will next face Russian Ekaterina Alexandrova for a place in the final. Top-seeded Pegula trailed Collins 6-1 to love to start the match, but ultimately reeled off 10 of the final 13 games to dethrone the defending champion in 1 hour and 44 minutes on Credit One Stadium. The misses soon piled up for Collins, who ended the match with 55 unforced errors against 33 winners. Though Pegula only managed 9 winners herself, she stepped up on subsequent return games to convert 5 breakpoints and run away with the match. Alexandrova, seeded 9th, saw off 3rd seed Zhen Qinwen of China 6-1, 6-4. She reached her 3rd semi-final of the season with her 3rd win in 3 meetings with Zheng, the 3rd seed. The Russian saved all 3 breakpoints she faced and converted 3 of her 5 breakpoints against the Chinese star, who hit just 8 winners and had treatment on her right arm during the first set. Besides focusing on their physical fitness, men's doubles pair Man Wei Chong and T Kai Woon are also paying attention to their mental side of their game as they gear up for the 2025 Badminton Asia Championship, or BAC, at the Ningbo Olympic Sports Center Gymnasium in Ningbo, China from the 8th to 13th April. The world number 7 pair are confident that their efforts in getting the services of a psychologist will lead to a positive outcome on the court come match day. According to Wei Chong, the psychologist asked many questions about their thoughts and gave them the freedom to express their feelings. Once on court, he stressed the need to be mentally strong amidst ideas on how to stay calm during tense moments. Met on Friday, Wei Chong added that the championships this time would be their best opportunity to prove their capabilities on a bigger stage, having achieved encouraging results in previous tournaments. In January, Wei Chong and Kai Woon created history when they marched into the final of the Malaysia Open for the first time. At the BAC, Wei Chong and Kai Woon will begin their campaign against the UAE, and their first real test should be against 2025 All-England runners-up Leo Rolly Carnando and Daniel Martin of Indonesia. On a separate note, national doubles shuttler Chen Tang-ji aims to be a versatile player just like his idol Seo Sung-jae of South Korea. Tang-ji said his decision to give it a shot in men's doubles while remaining a permanent fixture in mixed doubles was part of efforts to enhance his skills and help forge himself as a more complete shuttler. Seung Jae is an excellent player in men's doubles as well as mixed doubles and is currently considered one of the most versatile shuttlers, thus Tang Ji's fascination with the South Korean. Tang Ji on Friday said for now though, he's more focused on the next two competitions, the Taiwan Open and Thailand Open, with his new partner Chang Wen-si in mixed doubles. Asked about the possibility of him combining with To Yi-wei again, Tang Ji said he would leave that decision completely to the panel of coaches. The Badminton Association of Malaysia, or BAM, had previously announced that the mixed doubles combination of Tang Ji and Yi-wei would be split up following a decision taken at the Performance Committee meeting. Still to come on our offbeat segment, piles of garbage fill streets as residents protest dumpster. Approximately 8,000 metric tons of uncollected waste, according to regional media, filled the streets of the Cochabamba municipality as residents in the area on Friday demanded the closure of the dumpster they say is affecting their health. Piles of garbage were seen along the streets across Cochabamba as residents living near the Karakara dump continue to carry out a now 14-day-long blockade of the landfill, asking for its definitive closure. According to local media, the Agro-Environmental Court of Cochabamba admitted on Thursday the appeal filed by neighbors of the Karakara area to suspend the entry of garbage into the landfill, but gave a deadline until 20th April for solid waste to enter the site, something that the residents refused to allow. Due to the garbage problem, the mayor's office and the Cochabamba Municipal Council decided to suspend the day of the pedestrian scheduled for Sunday. Elsewhere in South America, Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva visited the Xingu Indigenous Reserve in Mato Grosso on Friday to honor Chief Raoni Metuktire, a renowned advocate for environmental and indigenous rights. During the visit, Raoni voiced his concerns about potential oil exploration at the mouth of the Amazon River, warning of possible environmental harm. Lula presented Raoni with the Grand Cross of the National Order of Merit and, in return, received a necklace symbolizing mutual respect. He praised Raoni's leadership, highlighting his wisdom and peaceful influence. The prospect of oil exploration has ignited debate within Brazil's government. According to a government document, Brazilian oil company Petrobras must obtain an environmental license to drill in the sensitive Foz do Amazonas region by the end of April before its contract with the drilling vessel expires in October. That's it from us this afternoon. In our top story, China to impose additional tariffs on all US imports. Malaysia Tonight comes on at 8:30 p.m. this evening, and TV1 and MyTV's Berita RTM news channel. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.